Hello, good morning. I'm doing slide number 45. But before that, no one has asked me how to write a paper. I have explained to you. Good morning, Yashaswini, Rupa, Shirisha, Shilpi. Yashaswini, happy morning. Sabin, Spandana, Nagma, Yashaswini, happiest morning. Lily, Shubhodaya to you too, Lily. Vicky, yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah. See, when you write a paper, the format is generally like this, okay? First, what you have to do is write an abstract. I'll tell you, I'll show you. You have to write an abstract. But to write an abstract, it is necessary to write the whole paper because abstract, okay? To write an abstract, it is necessary to write the whole paper. Alright? So, abstract I'll tell you last. Next, you should have something called key terms. Key terms are important subjects. See, everyone who reads your paper may not be a management person. Suppose you're writing on CRM in the steel industry. So your CRM will be a keyword. ECRM will be a keyword. Maybe database will be a keyword. Maybe the definition of steel industry will be a keyword. So next you should have keywords or key terms. Alright? Then you start the paper. Generally it was nicer to give it a number. So you start it with an introduction. Alright? This you start with a 1.1 an introduction. Okay, I'll explain what it is. First, I'll tell you the format. After this thing, you put 1.2. Suppose you're writing on, let us say, we are writing on ECRM in the food industry. Okay, ECRM in the online food industry. Suppose we are doing. Okay, so your key terms would be online food industry definitions. And key terms would be online food industry, not the definition. And then ECRM, CRM, database, whatever you use in the paper will be your key terms. Now, introduction, I'll explain. Now, I said the title is ECRM in the online food industry. So, here you will have to give definitions and explanation of concepts. Okay, I'll just show you. The 1.1 was introduction. Just hang on. Definition and explanation of concepts. So first I said abstract. Then in the you have after the title comes the abstract. After the abstract comes key terms. Then you get an introduction. Then you get definition and explanation of concepts. Okay. After that you have to write some kind of body, like what you're combining both. Suppose you're writing just an explanatory paper, a conceptual paper we call it. You are just explaining how ECRM has been done. Now this paper can be done in more than one way. Okay, see, let us say many of you are buying food. Yeah. Kishan, Mallikarjun, Bharti, Asha, Roshan, Madhuling, Dev, Pavan, Sujan, Ravi, Teja, Larma, all of you, good morning. Okay, see. Now, I'm going to tell you how to write a paper on eCRM in the online food industry. Let us say one of you or more of you are doing that paper. You can do a joint paper also. Now, the first thing I told you is the abstract, but the abstract you cannot understand unless I do the whole paper. Next, you have to write keywords or key terms, followed by introduction, then definition and explanation of concepts. Now, a general format of a paper. Now, you can write the paper from your memory, from your observation. So, when you write from your memory or from your observation, or you take some material from the internet and you quote that, yes, Zulfati, good morning. So, when you take some concepts from internet, you have to quote the website. That quoting of the website comes in the references. So, in the reference you share URL of the website you give, viewed on, give the date and the time. Is that clear? Generally, when you copy from academic websites, this reference usually automatically comes. Is that clear? Now, for example, if you are writing a paper from your observation, you are not doing any research, then you would just give some explanation of how eCRM helps the food industry. All right. On the contrary, excuse me, if you want to write a paper whereby you are giving, it is an empirical paper, it's called an empirical study. What do you mean by an empirical paper? It's called an empirical study. You all have done research, business research methods you have been taught. So what is empirical study? Empirical study essentially involves taking data by means of a questionnaire or by means of face-to-face interviews. When you take a questionnaire and you ask people to take, it becomes an questionnaire. But if you take the same questionnaire or some other questionnaire and you want to have a study, face-to-face study, kindly excuse me. Suppose you want to have with a questionnaire, you want to have a face-to-face study or an in-depth interview with someone, then the same questionnaire is called an interview schedule. Please understand, a questionnaire which is used for an in-depth study or a face-to-face interview, the same questionnaire is called an interview schedule. You may use the same questionnaire or you may use some other questionnaire. Alright? So suppose you are doing an empirical study by means of a questionnaire, then here in this, the 1.3 will be research methodology. Okay? 1.3 will be research methodology. Alright? Meaning how you did the research. Now you all have done a research methodology paper. So you know what is primary data. Primary data is straight collection of data, and secondary data will be data from what is already collected and published. So here you have to write subheadings like sources of data. In the sources of data, you will write whether you collected from primary data or just from secondary data. Suppose you are writing a conceptual paper from memory or observation, not doing any research on it, then your sources of data will be simply secondary data. But if you are doing an empirical study whereby you are using a questionnaire and asking people questions, taking their answers and analyzing and giving the findings, then your sources of data will definitely be primary data as well. So, you're in a, when you do an empirical study and you're using a questionnaire, your sources of data will be primary data, whereby you say, excuse me, whereby you say in the primary data, questionnaires were prepared and given to respondents. All right, questionnaires were prepared and sent to respondents or given to respondents. Their responses were collected, and this data was analyzed and findings are presented. You can say like that for the primary data. For the secondary data, if you have taken some books, you can say from books, magazines, journals, wherever you have seen, even newspapers, and from several websites, which you will quote at the end. Same thing, the journals, magazines, etc., which you have taken the data from, you will quote at the end. And after sources of data, you will say, suppose you are doing your study via a questionnaire, you will say sample size. Now, you may get a little confused about what I'm telling. I will take an actual paper, actual title, and I'll explain how to do. Is that clear? Then next you'll say tabulation and analysis. All this comes under research methodology. You have research methodology. Under research methodology, you have sources of data, you have sample size, you have tabulation and analysis. That so much. Okay. If you want, you can write something called limitations also. Limitations could be, since you all are students, and it could be simply time and cost constraints, or it could be limitations to a geographical area. Since it is locked down, you cannot go out, isn't it? So restrictions of not being able to travel and meet people, so collected data online or through phone, so you could not get a wide database that is there. Okay, so next what happens is, next side heading will be, see now, so research methodology is 1.3. 1.4 you can write findings. See, I'm giving you a basically simple paper, and 1.5 will be concluding remarks. One second. See, 1.4 will be findings and 1.5 will be concluding remarks. Now, based on the format, I am going to give you a title, and we are going to Reema, Divya, Chandu, Ganesh, Shruti, Mahesh, Manjunath, good morning, all, Murli Krishna, all good morning. Now, based on what I told you, I am going to explain to you, and I am going to take a title and I am going to explain to you how to write a paper. Now, let us say we are going to do an empirical study. Once again, I'm going to do an empirical study on see at opinion of delivery boys, online delivery staff, not necessary boys, isn't it? Okay, your title would be empirical study on opinions or attitudes. Let's call it attitudes of online delivery staff. Now, if you want, more than one of you can do the same paper. Some of you can do on groceries delivery staff. Some of you can do on food delivery staff. Some of you can do on any other delivery staff. And same paper, if 2 or 3 of you do also, it is not this thing. You can combine and do a paper. 4 people also combine and do a paper. As students, it's not wrong. Excuse me. Secondly, what you can do is, you can do the same paper but write it in your own way. 2 people can do on online food delivery stuff of attitudes, but you write your paper in your own way. See, I am giving you this title: Empirical Study on Attitudes of Online Delivery Staff. Okay? Online delivery stuff. Now, please note this properly. Empirical study. I explained to you what is an empirical study. An empirical study is done when you take a questionnaire, frame a questionnaire, you frame your own questionnaire, and talk to people, take their opinion, analyze their opinion, and make the findings. Okay? Then we are going to do this paper. Alright, now you can do for various people. I'm going to do, like for example, I just now had some groceries delivered. So let us make a questionnaire first. You and I together will make a questionnaire. You can use the same questionnaire and you can do a paper. Each one of you, like you can join. For example, Ravi and Biki can join and make a paper. Or Ravi and Biki can make the same paper in your own different ways. There's nothing wrong. Okay? Or Ravi can do for food and Biki can do for grocery. Okay? Now first, in a questionnaire I told you there should be profile. Don't ask for name. Let there be age. I'll give you only 2 profile. Okay? Age. First profile will be, this is the first question in your questionnaire. You could see there are people as young as 18. So you make it like this: 18 to 28, 29 to 38, 39 to 48, above 49. Okay? So you are making a box like this and asking them to tick. See, this is your first profile: 18 to 28, 29 to 38, 39 to 48, above 49. You tell them kindly tick in this column, tick in this column. Alright? Suppose the fellow is 30 years old, he will tick in this column. 29 to 38, he will tick. Suppose he is 50 years old, he will tick in the last column. Since I anticipate that there are not many people who are in their 50s doing delivery, online delivery, there may not be so many, so I have given above 49. If you want 49 to 58 and above 59, you can do. Instead of above 49, you can say 49 to 58, and then one more column you can put and say above 59. That also you can do, but I anticipate there won't be many people above 40 doing online food delivery, especially during the COVID times. But you never know. We don't know the situation in the world unless we actually make a study. So this will be your first profile. See class, you're under, why I'm teaching you this is not only for doing a paper. When you do your project also, you will require this. Okay. Now I'm going to give you only 2 kinds of profiles because this is for basically I'm teaching you for a paper. But if you want me to teach you, take a class on how to do your projects, I can do 2-3 classes on how to do your projects. You let me know, I will do it. Okay. Now, once you get your guides or before you get your guides, but you should make a note, not waste my class. I'm not here to simply talk and it should go off in the air. Okay. Now, the first profile was age. Second, you could do educational qualifications. Write down educational qualifications. Now, here you could say PUC, you could say degree, you could say postgraduate and above PG. Or I don't think above PG anybody will do delivery of food, but you never know. We may get some surprises, you know. So this would be your second column. PUC, degree, PG, and above PG. This is greater than PG. Sorry, I messed it up. Greater than PG. I'll show again. Your educational qualifications will be your second profiling, PUC, degree, PG, above PG. This much for profiling, this much is more than enough for the paper. If you want me to talk to you about how to do a project, then I will give you more profiling, and you can do depending on what your title is. For example, if you are doing something on software, you can make a profile on technical qualifications and non-technical qualifications. Like that, there are a lot of profiling you can do. All right. Geographically also you can do. Are you from North Bangalore, South Bangalore? Like that you can do depending on the title. But currently for this paper, these two profiles are enough. If you are writing a paper for the international conference, these two profiles are enough. Can you give me a thumbs up to tell me that you are following, please? All of you, someone, one thumbs up, please. Yeah, are you following? Class, are you there? Are you understanding? Am I fast? Am I slow? Shall I continue? Divya, thanks, sweetheart. Yes, Ravi, thank you, thank you. Yeah, he's very cute. Bharati too. Yes, yes, yes. Vicky, thank you. Ravi has given a cute little. Yeah, is that a puppy? Divya, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Nasir, thank you, thank you. Okay. Yeah. How are you, Nasir? Yeah. Shilpi, great. Shilpi, yes. Yes, man. Enough, man. Enough, man. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I was feeling a little as if I was alone. Okay. So here we are. I will repeat. We are making, yes, Yashaswini. I was making a questionnaire for you. And in the questionnaire, the first part of the questionnaire has always to be profile. Why profile? Because when you collect data, you collect from, as I told you in statistics, two ways. One is census, one is survey. In a census, please understand, I repeat, whenever we collect a data from a population, we can collect it in two ways. The first one is a census, CENSES. Okay, I repeat, the first one is a census. And the second one is via a survey. Census, okay, or a survey. See, this census is where you ask each and every person for the population. Like for us, the population for this title that I'm talking about is all the online suppliers, online delivery stuff. Anybody supplying anything from any Flipkart or Amazon or Swiggy. Yeah, I remembered what joke I used to make. Swiggy or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever food delivery, groceries, anything, that will be our population. All right. So, on any delivery, online delivery stuff will be our population. Remember that. Excuse me. Now, as I was telling you, you can collect data via census or you can collect data via survey. In a census, you are supposed to collect every day whatever data you want from every person. All right. Yeah, in our country, in the year 2001, there was a survey, census. 2011, there was a census. In next year, 2021, there has to be a census. Every 10 years, Indian government does a census. They come house to house and find out details about each and every person in the country. Is that clear? So that is a census. But when we do a paper or when we do a project, it is not possible for us to go to each and every person. And when we do not do each and every person, it becomes wrong. You cannot decide it as a census. So we do the next option, which is a survey. Alright. When you collect data via a survey, you do something called sampling. Alright. what you do is sampling. Alright, what you do is sampling. Alright, I have taught you in the statistics class, if you remember. So when you do via sampling, you have to collect samples. So people becomes samples. Now for us, this online delivery stuff, whoever comes to my house, if I'm going to do a survey, I'll catch whoever is coming to my house. So they become samples. Now I have to make sure they're representative of the whole population. Now for example, I know that online delivery stuff, there are women also. If you go into Swiggy, they show some pictures, and I saw a picture of at least one lady who's delivering food. So if my survey has to be complete, I should have at least one lady and other men. Okay, I mean, if all men only are coming to my house, I must make attempt to get at least one lady, so it becomes representative. Okay, otherwise I have asked only the opinion of men and it won't be correct. Is that clear? So suppose and when I collect, if I've seen one elderly person delivering groceries, then I must make sure that I have in this in this age bracket, I should have at least one person in the age bracket. Because let me assume that above 49 very few people are there, but there are people, then at least one person I should get here. If you can't get, then it means that there aren't any people above the age of 49 delivering online stuff. Alright? So, and there should be someone here also, someone in the middle. So, when you get some people in each of these categories, if you don't get in this, which I told you there may not be seniors people delivering, especially during COVID times, then you remove this above 49 and you stop here and say above 39. Alright, 39 to 48 don't want, above 39 you can do. Alright, so it depends on you, it doesn't matter as long as you do a real reality show, in reality you do. So I come back to how we do. We do a census, which we cannot, a survey and sampling. And sampling, when you do it, they have to be representative of the whole population. That is why we do this profiling. Alright. Now, let us do online attitude of delivery staff regarding what? Regarding, let us say, regarding customer courtesy. Wait, we'll make it opinions of online delivery staff regarding customer attitudes. Okay, now we are doing like this. I have changed it, empirical study on opinions of online delivery staff regarding, this is regarding customer attitudes. Whether customers are kind to them, whether they are courteous, whether they give, make them wait, etc., etc. Okay. So in your questionnaire, you have profiles, 2 profiles. That's enough for the paper. If you are doing, when I'm teaching you a project, I will take another title and I'll give you more details about customer profiling. Now let us say we are going to do a questionnaire. Now, since you do not have time, instead of putting many questions, I'll put all these questions into one table. Alright. Now, first heading will be details, and after that I'm going to make 5 columns and make it as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So let us say you're making a table and you're calling it like this, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now in the details I'm going to write all about customers. We want to know their opinion. Customers are courteous. Okay, let us say the first detail is customers are courteous, and here they are supposed to give 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Suppose they have encountered very good cool customers, then they may give 5 or 4, and then it goes on. Suppose their customers have not been so courteous, they may come to 1. That is not up to you, it is up to them to give the details. Let us say we'll take one more, the do not make me wait. Okay, do not make me wait. Customers, do not make me wait. Is it a true or false statement? Second one, customers, do not make me wait. Suppose people have made him wait or her wait, they may go here. Suppose they haven't, they are very punctual in taking the food or paying the money. Now there is no COD, isn't it? Cash on delivery is not there. So promptness in paying the money doesn't come. So here they may tick if they have a good opinion about customers not making me wait. So see, like this you can make 3 or maybe 5 different questions. The 5 different things you can put here. I've given 1 and 2. You can make 3, 4, 5. 5 is enough. And they will 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you count the 5s, count the 4s, count the 3s, and you can analyze. What you could do is you could make graphs. You can make graphs and show the age, how many people, bar graphs. You can meet 5 people or 10 people, and you can extrapolate it. You can say, suppose you have met 5 people, you make it into 3. So it will be like as if you have met 15 people. One person has replied for 3 people. So you just say 5 extrapolated to 15 you can do, or just for 5 people also you can analyze. But better, since so many delivery boys are there, you can just ask them for 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, you can just ask them for 1 or 2 minutes and you will get the details. Is that clear? So you make a bar chart about their age, make a bar chart about the other profile, that is the educational qualification. Then analyze this. How many 5 numbers you got for the first one? You think that if you get 5, it is excellent. And if you get 4, you consider 5 as excellent, 4 as very good, this one 3 as good, 2 as average, and 1 as poor. So how many averages you got, how many poor you got, how many excellent you got, you calculate and you give the analysis. Alright. So now your research method, now here you come into this, you have given the introduction about online delivery people. You explain what is the concept of online food, etc. Is that clear? Online food, etc. You will get, you can give explanation here, and then you can give research methodology that you did via questionnaire. Sources of data would be primary data and secondary data. Sample size would be 10, 12, etc. Please don't make round numbers like 10, 15 and all that. It is better to make 14, because suppose 2 out of 10 will become into 10, 20%. So that you hardly have calculated anything. Alright. Then you have to do tabulation and analysis. In the tabulation and analysis, you will put tables, or you will put graphs, or you will just put tables, or you will just put graphs, and this is your tabulation and analysis. After that, whatever you limitations, if you want, you give, and findings. How many excellents you got? For example, customers are courteous. You got number 5, a lot of number 5s. You can say that Bangalore customers are excellent. We got excellent for this sentence. Customers are courteous. So most of the opinion, the majority of the online delivery food stuff feel that the customers are courteous. You can say like that. Or if you got only 2, then you say the courteousness of the customer is just average, because 2 means average. 1 means poor. So the courteousness of the customer, according to their opinion, is poor. All right. And whether they like this, you may have other points. So you can give some more points. If you want me to help you, just let me know. I can give you more details. Okay. So this is the easiest thing I'm thinking of, because you all are at home and you're getting delivery. Now suppose the same thing, if you go instead of online delivery stuff, you can do it for sales staff who are working now. Many people are wearing masks and working in these supermarkets and all that. You can go to one supermarket and you can ask some 5 to 10 people the same thing. You can, instead of saying online delivery stuff, you can say supermarket, instead of this title, instead of online delivery stuff, you can say supermarket sales stuff, and you can do regarding customer attitudes only, because the very big thing that hurts somebody is customer attitudes, isn't it? They are the ones who determine your mood, their mood actually. Okay, so then you will come to the findings, whatever findings will say, and concluding remarks, a few words on what you felt, what you observed. You just want to conclude your paper. Is that clear? So this is what I have to say about your paper. Now I will do a little bit on my project management class. All right, we are on 45. Please go to slide number 45. All right. Tools and techniques for project execution. Please go to slide number 45. Tools and techniques for project execution. The first one we have to have is work authorization system. See, I cannot start class unless I am authorized by the department to do class. Unless the university, see, when I first started class on Facebook Live, I had taken permission from the Vice Chancellor of the university to take this thing, because I am a Bangalore University staff. It is mandatory for me to be under somebody's supervision. So when I get authorization only, I can start my class. Is that clear? Similarly, any teacher of our department, see now, following my class, there is another class. That faculty has been authorized by the department to take class. Otherwise, the faculty cannot take class. So there has to be a work authorization system. When we come to our project management, we are talking about the project auditorium CBSMS. Okay. Now this project auditorium, if we have to start the work, it means when we start the work, we need to pay somebody. If we are not authorized, how do we pay? We need the money. That is one simple thing, isn't it? And the land doesn't belong to any of us. It belongs to the university. So university has to authorize us to build the auditorium on their land. So unless we get authorization, we cannot, we do not have authority to actually start the work. So the tools and techniques for project execution, we were talking yesterday on project execution. So the tools and techniques for project execution are, first of all, a work authorization system. It is a method for ensuring that qualified people do work at the right time and in the proper sequence. You can't do electrical work unless the infrastructure, the walls are raised, the roof is put, etc. Isn't it? So the electric people, the people who do the electricity work, have to come only after the walls are raised. If you bring them during the foundation time, it is useless, isn't it? They are not good. As far as I know, you don't need electricity for the foundation, isn't it? Now, grounding and all can be done even after the grounding of the system can be done even after the work is finished. Or if there is any such thing to be done, because prevention of earthquake, or to make the earthquake building auditorium earthquake proof, to make the auditorium lightning proof, if you have to do something during the foundation, then you have to bring them. That makes people, experts who can do it. That makes it, that explains this. We have to authorize people who are experts in doing this. At what stage we have to do? You have to tell them. Bringing an excavator for digging, etc. also is part of the work authorization system. We need permission to bring excavators. We need permission to bring a crane. whatever is decided in the project plan, one crane, two cranes, one excavator, two excavators, all this will have decided in the project plan to actually rent them and bring them or buy them for the university. All this depends on the project plan, but we need a work authorization system. Second very important thing is, I told you, we have to have in management, we all, one of the main functions of management is control. And I have been telling you repeatedly, control is comparing the standards to actuals. So as I go ahead, I'm going to show you the Gantt chart. In one of my slides there is, and I told you everything is decided, how many days it takes. For example, I told you foundation will take 8 weeks. So 1/8 of the foundation, say suppose you are digging 8 feet, let's say. So 1/8 of the foundation will be 1 foot. So at the end of 1 week is 1 foot dug up. So such a kind of status review meetings have to be done. I repeat, if you are digging only 8 feet for the foundation, imaginary, 8 feet for the foundation, and in 8 weeks you have to finish 8 feet, then in 1 week, let us imagine you have to dig 1 feet. So in 1 week you have to check, at the end of 1 week you have to sit down and do a status review meeting. This is the second tool and technique for project execution, status review meetings, to find out whether that part of the work is done. Is that clear? So status review meetings are regularly scheduled meetings used to exchange project information. And also, suppose you could not dig 1 foot, why were you not able to dig? Did the excavator come late, etc., etc. Then project management software. There is a project management software. It is a special software to assist in managing projects. So if you put that software in place, whatever stage of the project upgradation, everybody can see, including the stakeholders. So they just have to use their phones and take the software and see how much of digging has been done. If you are raising the walls, how much of wall has been done, has the plastering started, everything they can see. So this software is also necessary. Now we come to the next slide, that is slide number 46. Here it says integrated change control. Now in PMBOK, book of 96 calls it overall change control. I told you change is inevitable, but it has to be managed. If you don't manage change, then comes the difficulty. Integrated change control involves identifying, evaluating and managing changes. So first you have to identify the changes. When you identify the changes, you must put it through the machinery of having it be approved by the concerned people. So once it is approved, how it is going to be implemented. This is the total integrated change control. Once it is implemented, has it been implemented properly, is also you need to see. Okay. Yeah. Amrin, good morning. Kavya, good morning. Yeah. I hope all of you are fine and doing well. Okay. Now let's come to the next point. The three main objectives of change control are: influence the factors that create changes to ensure they are beneficial. Secondly, determine that a change has occurred and manage actual changes. I already explained to you in so many words. So let us come to the figure that I have given you in figure 4.3, slide number 47. Slide number 47, figure 4.3, integrated change control process. See, this is very simple. It is exactly how you do feedback and control. What I have been telling you so far is, take the actuals, compare it with the standards, and you find out whether you have positive deviation. If you have positive deviation, you have done well. Find out how you have done well and implement it. If you have done negative deviation, then you have to take remedial action. and implement it. This is the basic change, basic control. So now here you have, watch this. It says, first of all, establish baseline plans. Then as you implement the project, you review the status and the wait 1 minute. Establish baseline plans via project plans. Project plan is very big. You may have smaller plans, smaller targets to achieve, like 8 feet for 8 weeks, 1 week, 1 foot per week could be your small baseline plan based on the project plan. You can see their project plan. Then based on your performance reports, I told you you have a software for project management, and you can upgrade whatever you have done every day on that. This will be a performance report. There are various kinds of reports: summary report, exceptional report, etc. I'll tell you when it is necessary. Now currently let it suffice that you understand that the project manager and the concerned person will update the whatever project has been done every day on the software. So they will call it a daily performance report currently. So if you can see on that slide there, performance reports are enable you to review status and progress. All right. So you can see there I've given you the diagram, review status and progress. Now there might be a change request. Now there may be necessary, suppose it has rained and water logging is there. You may have to wait for the water to be water to go, or you may have to suck out the water. Let us say you may need to wait once the water is sucked out for the land to dry. That you could wait 1 day, but you cannot wait for the water logging to, you cannot wait. You don't know how long it will take. So you have to request a change to employ a pump to remove the water, pump out the water from the foundation. Maybe you have dug and it has rained and there is water logging. So the change request for you would be, give us the authority for us to go ahead and rent a pump so that we can remove the water from the foundation, whatever we have started. So that request you see here, that is the change request. That is the source of the next step. The next step is determine if changes have occurred or should occur. So before you say, okay, let us get a pump to pump out the water, you have to see whether it has rained and whether there is water, whether there is just 1 inch water which will naturally go away, or if there is 2 feet of water which you have to pump out. Alright. So now suppose there is water, then you update the project plans. There is this change is necessary. Update the project plans for the water, and then you have found out that thanks to the water, your foundation has not been dug up as much. Maybe it is 2 weeks since you started, and 2 feet of digging had to take place. 2 feet have not been dug up, so you have to have. Let us say we upgrade the project plan. Say we are going to work instead of 8 hours, we are going to pay them extra. You sanction overtime, so they'll work another 2 hours after regular normal 8 hours. So you sanction their overtime payment. All right. This is update. For example, an example for updating project plans. Then take corrective action. This is the corrective action I have just said, and share the lessons learned. So suppose, see, in Bangalore it has been raining almost every alternate day or every week it has been raining. So really you cannot say don't do the project but you can generally say don't operate during monsoons. So maybe starting the project in December when the rains have abated, or January, and trying to finish as much as possible of the project like digging, etc. by April would give you 4 or 5 months of rain-free months generally. Even if the rains are there, they won't be heavy. So this could be one of the lessons learned. What is the time now? It is almost 10. So my next slide would be change control on information technology project. But it is for projects, it is the same thing. We just will have to remove the IT part of it. Now see, it is 10 a.m. I have promised to stop class since I'm taking every day. I'm supposed to take about 4 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours twice a week. Instead, I'm taking every day, no. So I'll stop here. 1 hour is enough, and I like to take 1 hour because we cannot take too much of class. Also, you have, this is project management is a little heavy. So is operations management. So I will come back tomorrow at 9 o'clock and take class till 10 o'clock. Alright, if you have any doubts, you can WhatsApp me, or you can put it on the common group so that everybody knows. If you want me to talk on once I finish this project management, I can tell you if you wish on how to do your projects. Okay, your third semester project. I can tell you how to do it. Is that clear? Okay, then I'll say bye. Thank you all. Uh, Take care. Attend the next class, please. Strategic management is another core subject that you have to mandatorily answer. It's a great subject. All the best. Have a good day, all of you. Smile. Bye. See you tomorrow.